Let's take a look at Sam Darnold's numbers. Sam Darnold this last year completed 58% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. That's what he did this year. Threw for 1,100 yards. He has basically thrown, the last couple of years, I mean, it just hasn't been good. There's a lot of picks. I mean, the one thing about Sam Darnold going back to SC, he throws a lot of freaking picks. He's got 61 touchdowns in his NFL career. He's got 55 interceptions. And he's been sacked a ton. 30 times, 33 times, 35 times, 35 times. This year he got sacked 10 times in 6 games. Here's the reason why it's interesting. He's 25. He's 6'3". He's 225 pounds. He was once thought to be, a top-tier quarterback who went at the top of the draft. Now, here's the question I would have. Sam Darnold is probably he's a number 2 quarterback who could be a number 1. Is he a number 3 quarterback? Is he sunk to that level? Is it going to be Brock and Trey and Sam? Or is it going to be Brock and Sam and Trey gets traded? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. But I mentioned this the other day. I did a whole video on this about how if the Niners, John Lynch sounded at the combine like they were going to trade Trey Lance. To me, I don't know what anybody else thought of that, but that's what I got out of that. Trey, the quote was, Trey needs to play, which I agree with, and I've been saying for weeks. And that's the challenge, because we've got a team that's ready to go now. So that sounds to me like he's not ready to play now. And since he needs to play, saying a player needs to play and then creating a scenario where it's impossible for him to play now makes me think that you're going to trade him. What I heard from John Lynch there was exactly, to a word, what the Warriors said about James Wiseman a month ago. James Wiseman, by the way, if you're not a Warrior fan, is now in Detroit playing with the Pistons and doing quite well. But the question is, when John said Trey's got to play and we got a team that's ready to win now, that sounds like we're preparing everybody for the reality that they're going to trade Trey Lance. That's what I got out of that. Otherwise, why is it a problem? Trey's got to play. You only have Brock on your roster. He's the only other quarterback you got. So if Trey's got to play, why is that a challenge? The implication is Trey's got to play and he's not ready to play. And we don't have the time to invest in him to get him ready to play because we have a team that's ready to win now. That's what I got out of that. And what was my takeaway? My takeaway was the third quarterback will tell us something. If the third quarterback is a starter or a solid, maybe borderline starter, solid number 2, and I throw out Baker Mayfield, but you could throw you could throw Sam Darnold in that same category, then that to me is another indication they may move Trey Lance. So I don't know. I don't know how to read this, but if you told me, based on what I saw John Lynch say, I think Trey Lance is going to be traded. And then the fact that they've now signed a third string quarterback who was a top 5 pick and is only 25. And at best, I think, or at worst, you'd have to say Sam Darnold's a number 2. You could say that Sam Darnold is a borderline 1/2. Like, everybody's got an inherent truth about what they are. I think, some guys, like if you said they signed Easton Stick, I would have said, yep, they're keeping Trey. He's a third string quarterback. They have Brock, they have Trey. Now they have Easton Stick. Those are their 3 quarterbacks. And that's what they're going with. If they had gone with, I was talking to Jordan Elliott the other day. He said Joe Flacco. I said, who's the ideal third quarterback? He said Joe Flacco. And I know before you start ripping on Jordan Elliott, I kind of like that idea. Joe Flacco's experience, got a big arm. He played decently at times. But that is a kind of quarterback that says, Brock's your 1, Trey's your 2, or Trey's your 1, Brock's your 2, and Joe Flacco's a clear number 3. That's an indication that Trey's staying. But to me, what John Lynch said in Indy, followed up by Sam Darnold's acquisition today, just cements my belief that they're going to trade Trey Lance. And I'm worried about that because I think Trey Lance is going to be good. And I've said that over and over and over again. But I also think that Trey Lance is going to be good in the future. Like I watch Trey and I see, how raw he is throwing the football, and how raw he is in several aspects of the game, but especially his touch, timing, and feel as a passer. Forget the running for a second. Just strictly talk about Trey as a passer. I think he lacks touch. I think he lacks timing. I think he lacks feel. I think his ball is heavy and wobbly and difficult to catch. He's the opposite of Brock Purdy, in that Brock Purdy throws the most catchable ball I think I've seen since Joe Montana. No, there's not a lot of snap in his arm motion. He's got a very smooth arm motion, throws a consistent spiral, puts it on the hands. He throws a very catchable ball. He's not throwing it 100 miles an hour. It's just right there. Good timing, good tempo, good feel, good accuracy. Trey, I see the opposite. I see a great kid, smart, athletic, dedicated, wants it. But now let's move all those traits to the side and let's just talk about what we see with our eyes. And I see inaccuracy, high speed wobbles, a guy who throws, he's a one-speeded thrower. Everything comes out rocket fast. The drops that he had were, maybe some are on the receivers, but a lot are on him. So I see a guy who needs to be defined, I see a guy that needs to be refined, I should say. Refined. I said defined. He needs to be refined. So there you go. You ask me what this means. I think Trey Lance is getting traded. I really do. I'm not the hugest Sam Darnold fan, but maybe he could be rehabilitated to some degree in this system. Maybe he could be, you play with these weapons. I think he could be a serviceable, solid number 2, borderline number 1. But I don't think of him as a third string guy. I mean, he's made 56 starts in the NFL. That's a lot of games. His completion percentage first year was 57%. It went to 61, 59 in year 3, 59 in year 4, 58 in year 5. So he's not a high completion percentage guy, and he throws a ton of picks, and he takes a lot of sacks. So how do I feel about Sam Darnold? I don't like him. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I like guys I don't like. I don't like him. I don't think much of him. I think he's stiff. I think he takes too many chances with the football. I don't think he's overly mobile. I don't like him. Now, obviously Shanahan does, and Shanahan can try to develop him. We'll see how it goes. But I definitely think that he is a backup quarterback in the NFL. But I don't know about if he's a third string quarterback. Third string quarterback would have been somebody he's either old or really young, somebody who's not, been a 1 or a 2, but more of a 2 or a 3. And to sit there and say, Sam Darnold's going to come in and sit behind Brock and sit behind Trey and be the third quarterback, I don't see it. I think they're going to trade Trey. I think they're going to trade Trey on draft day for a mid-first round pick and a player. And I do think Trey will fetch that. And you say, where do I think he's going? I think he's going to Tennessee. He's going to Tennessee for the 11th pick in the draft and fill in your young veteran. Maybe the tight end or from Maryland, maybe the corner from Auburn, McCreary, I should say. I could see that, and then and that's what I would do. I mean, if you say, what would you do? That's what I would do. Because to me, I would rather add a player you're ready to win now. Debo, Ayuk, Bosa, Warner, this awesome collection of players. You just signed Hargrave. He's 30. You're ready to win now, right now. You're not going to be better in 5 years. You're now. It's right now. So what does that mean? Get me a player that can help me win right now. What I would want to do is I would trade to Tennessee for that 11th pick and McCreary the corner, and I would draft Michael Mayer, because every draft that I've seen has Mayer going between 15 and 20, and if you get the 11th pick, you probably can get him. He's as good a tight end as I've seen in a long time. I mean, I've watched tons of Notre Dame. That guy is the real deal. If you can add a Michael Mayer, now you got a 2 tight end set of George Kittle, Michael Mayer. You've got Debo, Ayuk, Jennings. You've got, an improved defense. Yeah, that's how I want to win the Super Bowl. Go get me Michael Mayer. Why? Because Brock Purdy was awesome throwing to the tight end in college, and look what happened to George Kittle after the arrival of Brock Purdy in the starting lineup. He took off. George Kittle is the best tight end in pro football with Brock Purdy. He's way, 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 way better than he was before Brock Purdy because of Purdy's ability to find him and hit him in the middle of the field. So that's what I would do. I would trade, I don't love Sam Darnold, but clearly Sam Darnold is a 1/2, a 2/1. He's not a third string quarterback. I'd be very surprised if it was Brock and Trey and Sam. I think it's Brock and Sam and maybe a rookie and Trey somewhere else and probably for a first round draft choice.